Hey, what is up? Merry Christmas, everybody. It's Turnbuckles and Stogies coming to you live here from Park Lane, Tobacco. Actually recorded. What's up, guys?
What's up?
What's going on?
That's right.
We didn't get to play our intro. Sorry, guys.
So we are here at Park Lane Tobacconist.
Big dog.
The Vanilla Gorilla. The OG.
And
Pardon us.
Mr. Kuth.
I don't care.
What's up, guys? This is our Christmas episode of Turnbuckles and Stogies. What is going on? Hope you're having a fantastic day. Merry Christmas on behalf of Turnbuckles and Stogies.
Yes.
Got our little top hat on.
Don't touch my hat again.
Beard going.
So we are live here at Park Lane Tobacconist. And we're going to have a special guest on right now that I've traveled the roads with. So let's bring him in.
The man himself. There he is.
There he is. There he is.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry Christmas, my brother. So being that you texted me, motherfucker, because
Watch your language.
things happen.
Watch your language.
So he was trained out there with Balls Mahoney. Okay, he was the ECW original and worked for Tony Rumble. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Mr. Derrick himself.
Well, what he can do is tell us what he's smoking first, and then we'll get into that. See, we're missing the whole thing. This guy's new. He's never done this before.
No, it's brand new at it. I got you. Tonight, I am smoking the Crema by Espinosa.
That's so good.
Nice smoke. This one happens to be the Habano, which is really, really, really tight, really nice. Good flavor on that one.
Very cool. What do you guys got lit up here?
Well, I'm lighting up the Comfortably Numb, the Habano.
Oh, great cigar. Great cigar.
I remember when this first came out, when I got it on Cigar Bid, when it first came out, and I have not been able to find it since. And if I have, it's like certain shops only have one or two or maybe three, but they're held off to the side.
Yep.
And he's got.
It's a great cigar. It's a creamy cigar. It's a good cigar. It's not super Maduro. It's really creamy and light, but it packs a nice punch.
Nice. And I got my
and produces a lot of smoke.
I took the wrapper off already.
This guy's a rookie too. What are we gonna do with him, bro?
He's a rookie, bro.
Should I just do this myself today?
I think so. Move it that way.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to just do it to myself because Jesus, I can't do nothing with these two.
Well, it's hard to, I don't know how Santa does it with his beard.
Santa also doesn't smoke with his beard. Santa smokes after Christmas. Trim it up and get rid of it.
I don't know. I've seen some of those things, the kids put on the news and they see Santa flying through the air. I've seen him with an Espinosa cigar before, so.
Hey, listen, I mean, if he smokes it, then we have to smoke it.
Amen.
So Derrick, let's
yes, sir.
Let's get to the point.
I'll kick off here. So I kind of got the questions you're gonna ask, but in a little quicker manner.
Okay.
So let's start with what made you get into wrestling.
Well, living 2 towns over from Malden, I grew up in Lynn, Mass. So Malden is where Killer Kowalski School was.
Yes. Okay.
Well, I knew a ton of guys that would go into Kowalski School, and the only time, I think it was twice in New England, the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance, from Atlanta, the Atlanta one, the real one, Ric Flair and all them, came to the Boston Garden. And I saw this big guy in the stands during intermission shaking hands and doing autographs. So I walked up and introduced myself. And just being an NWA fan my whole life and who he was, he told me about some events, what was it called? ICW back then when Kevin Sullivan and Tony Rumble ran with was it Ricky Santana?
Yes.
With Ricky Santana and them. So I started going to every show and watching them all, and then one time I bumped into Tony Rumble during a intermission, and I always said to him, I said, how do I get involved with this? And he goes, well, you just ask.
I mean,
Okay.
that goes for everybody out there who wants to know how to get in there. Now it's the same thing. The rules really haven't changed much, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the rules don't really change. All you got to do now still is just ask a simple question.
Yep.
And they'll point you in the right direction to a school, or they might even have a school now.
Back then there weren't a ton of wrestling schools back in the day, but of course Walters was over in Malden, and all the real wrestling schools, excuse the terminology, not that Walters wasn't a real wrestling school, because a lot of great guys come out of there.
A lot of stars came out of that one.
A lot of great guys come out of Philip Kowalski School, but you had to go down south to get in. You had to go like down south over to Memphis to get into a wrestling school. Like down south, you had Steve Kern, who was he was a worker, but he was also a booker for the company. And Mike Graham ran all of Florida.
And Kern was also part of the Midnight Express too, if people don't know that.
Well, no. So Steve Kern started back in the day when he was doing the thing back then. But when he went over to like Memphis and went over to working for the one in Atlanta, him and Stan Lane became the Fabulous One.
That's right. Yes. See, I know a lot of stuff, and I always get names mixed up. It's very easy to do.
But I mean, you got to figure where they started over. So Steve Kern was working for Mike Graham, and then they went over to work for Lawler. Well, not really Lawler, but it was Lawler's company. But and then of course you went over to Vern and the AWA, which you had to be the best to work for Vern. You had to be the best for the AWA. There was no
that came out of the AWA. The Road Warriors, Rick Rude, Kurt Hennig.
Exactly. I mean, you got to remember that at one time, Rick Rude and Manny Fernandez held the AWA World Tag Team Champions.
Correct.
So you got to then you think about the Fantastics, and then you think about all the tag teams. Now, I'm a huge tag team guy. Huge tag team. I think more tag team matches should be on TV. I'm a huge tag team guy. Despite the way they work.
If the teams are placed together right, and sometimes those oddball pairings work out to be great. You know that as well as I do.
And you've seen it, all through the years when they put certain people together and they just work.
Yep.
So let me ask you this question, and I'm gonna put this out there. So everybody out of Killer Kowalski School has made it on all the independents.
I think there's one that hasn't gotten his shine yet, and that's the last kid I think to come out of Kowalski School. I think 10 years ago, and that's Jay Freddy, I think is his name.
Oh, Jay Freddy.
Yeah, I think he's the last one. I think that needs I think he's the last one to be able to, get up onto a main company. I think he's it, because I know he was the last. He's an
unbelievable worker. That kid. He's definitely just a solid, great hand. But also remember, back in the day, because Walter worked for the WWF, when WWF would come to town. When WWF would come to town, they'd call Walter and go, okay, I need guys for this. I need guys for that. I need guys for this. That's how guys got on the roster. You had people like Mike Hollow. He got on the roster. You had Tim McNeely. You had these guys who went all the time. And Knuckles Nelson. All these guys went over to work for WWF.
Triple H started out in WCW as Terror Rising.
Let's go back.
Right.
Well, I mean, he had connections.
Let's go back to Knuckles Nelson. And Tony Rumble's company. Let's go back to Knuckles Nelson, Tony Rumble's company, where you and I have started.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So So you and I have started with Knuckles Nelson. my man. He's
Knuckles Nelson, Eric Frazier.
yes, Eric Frazier,
Joel.
Joel.
Yeah, no.
Listen,
Man, the stories about that guy are just endless.
So-
I've heard
They're all
endless.
true.
And what's the best part
Wait,
is
wait.
he's also going to be a future guest on this podcast.
Oh, that'd be great.
they're not all
That's
true.
going to be that podcast is going to be great along with this one.
So let's go back to Ogdensburg, New York. Okay,
Okay.
where Ogdensburg, where everything happened in Ogdensburg. Okay, so we're going to Ogdensburg. So now,
Well, we've heard your side, so why don't we let him tell his side of that story now? Because
So
I'm sure
we
you've got a little
did
bit of different
We
perspective.
did this awesome show, and it was actually a really good show. It was a NWA New England show, and afterwards we all just kind of kicking it. And I know that from what I remember, I think Big Dog and Joe went for a walk.
Yeah, is that what we're gonna call it now? A walk?
A walk.
They went for a walk, and I think behind the building, like where the delivery stuff is, there was like the truck, and the guys were bringing all the boxes and stuff up.
I think they were getting a fresh delivery of stuff for the week.
Like it was like a brand new box truck. They were bringing stuff out of the truck and putting it there. Well, there was nobody around, and there was a dumpster, kind of like diagonal from where they were parked, and all the boxes were stacked in front of the fucking dumpster. It looked like trash.
I mean, one man's
Next thing-
trash is another wrestler's treasure.
And it was our treasure. All I know is this one's doing over here, and frickin' Joel come back, and I was like, what is all this? Like, oh, it was in the trash. We just grabbed it. I'm like, this was in the trash. Yeah, it was in next to the dump. All right, so we drank all.
And you know what's funny is I know he could do it, but I could so see Joel's face.
Yep,
He's saying it was in the trash, buddy. Don't worry about it, buddy.
it was in the trash. I swear to God, it was next to the dumpster. We thought it was
Swear to
trash.
God.
And we looked in the boxes. We picked them up and brought them to the boy.
Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Wait, hold on,
Oh God.
Derek. It was in the trash, buddy.
It was. It was.
in the trash.
I could see.
And Tony Robo comes over and goes, "Yo, boss." He goes, "That was in the trash?" I'm like, "Yeah, it was in the trash." He goes, "Okay, so how many more we got?" I said, "As much as you want."
You know,
Box after box after box. Oh my God, guys were taking stuff and putting it in their gimmick bag and bringing it home.
I mean, listen, it's part of the gimmicks. It's part of the gimmicks.
Listen,
You know, just like when I do shows now. This is in the gimmick bag at the hotel waiting for me. These are in the listen.
Yo,
I
Derek,
don't smoke
Derek,
up until the match.
So-
After
Right.
my match is over,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm scheduled, let's just say the show is on a 4th, that week or week and a half before, I'll stop smoking. And I'll wait. And then once that match is over,
Guess what?
I'll go outside and I'll smoke, or I'll wait right
Yep.
until I get back to the hotel, you know, after you kiss the baby, sign the autographs, take the
Do
pictures,
the thing.
all
Yep.
the fun stuff, make the gimmick
Yep.
money, everything.
Yep.
Then you go back to the hotel, you grab yourself a cigar, you cut it, you light it, and you hang it outside. That's what I did after the first match.
That's what you do.
Back to the hotel, I lit up a very nice cigar, and I enjoyed the debut night as I still wound down, and then I felt it 3 or 4 days later, and my diaphragm hurt for about 2 weeks because you've ran with him. I'm a little Scubats up here. I'm not all there.
I got you.
So
testify to that.
we I take the first bump that I take isn't even in the ring. The first bump I take is when the dude runs across the apron and lawn darts himself, and I hit the concrete floor elbow first and shoulder first. Then I went to get up, and because we didn't get to the back fast enough, he was already back there. So the kid looks, and I go, kick me. Tighten up. He kicks me. I felt it, and my stomach muscles hurt.
Oh yeah.
They hurt for about a week. Everything,
Yep.
Laughing hurt. Everything hurt. But I'll tell you what, I would have did it all over again the next day if I would have been asked to.
Amen, brother.
100%.
What we do.
I would do it all
What
over
we do.
the next day. People said, would you do it over again? I said, if I got a phone call right now and they said to me, I need you down in North Carolina by tomorrow night. Guess what?
We're on the road.
Packing my bag, and I'm out. See you later. Bye.
We're on the road. You better believe it.
And that's kind of what I'm doing now, not only with the podcast, with wrestling with him, I also travel now with a tag team that has appearance deals with the NWA.
Okay.
They're local guys by me. They're good friends of mine. They've been all over. And, he called me one day. He goes, listen, I've been driving by myself. You want to ride with me? Because his partner rides with his family. I'm like, yeah, let's go. I mean, I jump in the car. I've been to Jersey. I've been up here somewhere in Albany. I was supposed to go to Amsterdam last week. I got to go back out in January. I'm scheduled with him to ride all the way out to Barnegat, out by the shore in Jersey.
Ooh.
And then I got to go to
Derrick said, "Oh."
I'm supposed to go to Outlaw Pro Wrestling on the 29th of this month in Elmsford at Captain Lawrence Brewing.
That's a fucking ride. You better make sure the cigars are lit.
I don't know. When he's in my car, I don't smoke. I
Really?
don't smoke with him in my car. Yeah, he's a every occasional smoker. Like, if it's a special occasion, he'll ask me what I have. Like, there was a few times I was with him and he was like, "What do you have for me?" He goes, "I want a cigar." I'm like, "Well, what do you want?"
Right.
And then I was like, "All right, you know what? You don't smoke that much, so take this, take this, take." I gave him like 4 or 5. I'm like, "Here, go share them with your friends. Have fun."
Give him something Connecticut. Give him something light.
Yeah.
OG has a question.
So I'm gonna turn it over to this guy here with the weird pom pom on his hat.
Hey, it's
I like that.
It's Santa's balls.
Oh, it's Santa's balls on your head. All right. At least
Santa's balls.
they're not on your chin.
He needs them back next week.
At least they're not on his chin.
So Derrick,
That's another show.
yeah,
That's for another website.
totally different website. Got to be 18 or older. Click.
Subscribe,
So-
$9.99.
Derrick, it's me, the OG. I'm Dennis, by the way. Listen, I hooked up with these guys here on Instagram probably a year ago now, right?
Something like that.
Something like that. And
My condolences.
I'm just a wrestling fan. I'm a cigar aficionado. We kind of hooked up on the podcast and met in person for the first time, like I said, about a year ago. And ever since then, these guys are my best friends and we're having a blast doing it. So I'm saying that because it's great having you on to get another wrestler's perspective of things. So my first question is, how long have you known this guy?
Holy shit.
And
He said
that.
no, listen, he answered
He said that.
He answered with a
Derrick,
holy shit.
Derrick,
That's how you know it's been
Derrick,
too long.
Derrick.
so how
Wait,
long?
he said that. He said that.
The fact
So
that
how long have you known? How long have you known a Big Dog? And tell me one of your best stories of.
Well, sorry. The best story is that one in New York when we had the case of the
first
frickin'.
one was the one in Ogdensburg.
That's
They
the
stole
best
the
one?
cases of beer.
All right,
That is the best. And that was a shoot. That was a total shoot. It was.
Yo, hold on.
The stories
Time
I've
out,
heard
Coach.
over the years
Time out,
about
Coach.
him and
So Derrick, I just want our viewers to kind of understand your relationship, how long you've known him, and how being on the road together and all that
Shit.
kind of jazz.
Me
Just
and
kind of give
let
people
him
a little
answer
bit of
and then we'll
background
go to
about you two together.
So, especially growing up in New England, you always had great wrestling in New England. Like I said, with Killer Kowalski being around and all his guys coming out, I was very, very fortunate to go to an indie show that Tony and Kevin Sullivan were running at the time. It was in Lynn, right around the corner from my house. So I remember going there and I remember introducing myself to Tony and introducing myself to Kevin. And matter of fact, to this day, I'm still like great friends with Ricky Santana. We actually hang out a lot in Tampa and smoke cigars.
nice.
So I would say, holy shit, early 90s.
Okay.
That's a
Early
long time.
90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean,
We've been
I would-
friends for I can't tell you how long, and people don't realize that me and Derrick Dukes, shout out to my man D3. You heard? Shout out to my man D3 right there. Listen, we've been friends for so long that remember when I came there, when I came to NWA. And
Yep.
Tony goes, he goes, you're not wearing that stuff. I was like, why? He goes, because now we're gonna change you to the Moondogs. He goes, we're gonna change you to the Moondogs. I was like, what do you mean, Tony? He goes, get yourself a fucking shirt that's cut off. He goes, get everything. He goes,
Get the. It was a cut. It was the cut shirt, the overalls. It was something. It was another gimmick that he wanted you to have because in the '90s were all about gimmick.
The dog bone.
that
It
dog.
was the bone. Yeah, that's what it was.
The dog bone.
Yes.
I will say, and it's funny you bring that up because, when the opportunity, came for me to wrestle with him, he changed up his gimmick. And, I can't lie, me being the kid I was, watching him wrestle in the ripped up jean shorts, the cut off shirt, the dog bone. That's what I wanted him to come out as. I did. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit here and say I didn't. The kid in me wanted to team with the guy that I watched growing up.
You know
Yep.
what?
And I understand, and I listen. I get it. You got to move with the times. You gotta adapt.
Yep.
But I think me being me, being the kid I am, the guy that was around him all those years, that's the character that I knew,
Derrick.
and that's what I wanted to come out with me.
We were
Yep.
in Wallingford, Connecticut, right? So remember when Jim Cornette was there, right? In
Oh
Wallingford,
God. Yeah.
Connecticut, right? So my wife says, "Hello, is Dave there?" And they go, "Who's Dave?" And they go, "Big Dog." Look, he's laughing. They're like, who's Dave? And they're like, my husband. And they're like, oh, sure. Let me figure that out. And Jim turns around and Jim goes, you talking about Big Dog? And they go, yeah, we're talking about Big Dog. And they go, oh yeah, he's up in the locker room. I was with Bundy, Snooker, and all those guys. And all of a sudden, I'm like, it's like, yo, Dave, your wife is looking for you. I'm like, my wife's looking for me. They're like, yeah. They're like, she asked for Dave.
Brother, I've known you for 30 years. I've never called you Dave, ever. Never. I've known you for 30 years. I've never called you by your first name.
It's funny we brought up Ogdensburg and Joel, because guess who just texted me while I'm sitting here to send me his comedy video that he posted on Instagram. He texted me, I said, yo, by the way, I said, we're filming with Derrick. I said, we're filming with D3. He goes, oh, that's awesome. He goes, I said, we just told the story about Ogdensburg. He goes, no, did you really? He goes, oh, I can't wait to watch that one.
So, Derrick, on that note, we're going to take a break, and we're going to go
a quick
to
break.
our commercial. Yo,
Don't go anywhere.
don't go nowhere.
We'll be right back.
We'll be
Hey, it's Michelle from Park Lane Tobacconist. Come on down for a great selection of pipe tobaccos, cigars, accessories, you name it. Come on down and check us out. I want to thank Turnbuckles and Stogies for promoting us on their program, and back to them at MBR Radio.
All right, hey everybody, we are back. Turnbuckles and Stogies. We got our special guest here, Derrick Dukes. What's up, Derrick?
What's up, baby boy?
Listen, I can't thank you again enough for jumping on here. This is fantastic. I have been a wrestling fan all my life. I tell you though, when I got hooked was when I was about 8 years old, and I don't remember what promotion came in, but it came into a little place called the Mechanicville City Center, right in downtown Mechanicville. At that time, population 4,000. You know what I mean?
that big.
But I got to see these guys live and in person. And of course, the very first wrestler that comes up to me is, of course, Big John Studd. And that dude's hand was the size of my body. It wasn't even. It was not right. And there was just Tony Atlas was mind-boggling. What a huge man was.
Now let me
back in the 80s.
Let me tell you, I'm sure then. Derrick has some stories. Let's just say TA in person is an absolute sweetheart and funny as can be. I met him in person for the first time in the 2300 arena. Me and him did Feinstein's Icons of Wrestling.
Oh, excellent. Great show.
Team. We brought in local guys. Buff Bagwell was actually sitting next to us. By the way, again,
another
sweetheart of a man. I mean, me and him sat there, and I can say for the first time in a long time, he was one of the guys that I marked out for, but not marked out to the fact of like, oh, I need an autograph. Marked out more for the stories.
Derrick,
we sat next to each other and just had conversations and we're just talking about Japan.
Yep. Brother, let me tell you something. We all started as marks.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone.
No.
Shut up. Let him talk.
I don't care what anyone says. Don't care what anyone says.
Listen,
you were in the crowd watching wrestling.
And I've always said, and even the guys now that I ride with always say you can't lose that. You came up in that. I came up, around you guys growing up. So I was always told, try not to, mark out and take pictures with these guys and stuff like that. I was always told that.
Old school.
And that's just the way that I was brought up.
Yep.
Now I did a show up here and Jay Lethal was up here.
One of my best friends. When
I was up at the promotion, the Dynasty up here, they had Jay up here doing an appearance.
Good people.
Walking around, and I kind of stood there, and the guy I was riding was like, "Yo, why didn't you go get a picture?" I said, that was the way I was. He goes, listen. He goes, you know what? He goes, it's too short to not have these memories. He goes,
100%.
So like I have a picture of
AJ Styles.
No. I have a picture from the first show that I did from when I debuted, and it's me. It's me, him, my dad, Magic, and Crazy Ivan. And just to be in that picture, I say this because of, what they've done, icons and legends of the independent scene.
Gotta believe it.
Included in that picture, and to be able to say, I wrestled with him. I wrestled on the same card as Magic, as Crazy Ivan. It was cool for me. And him and Crazy Ivan reconnected through a local promoter by us because he booked Crazy Ivan, and he was looking at me. He goes, I was like, I just didn't know who he was. I was too young at the time to know who he was. So he's like, that's Ivan. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I don't know who that is. It wasn't a knock on him or nothing. I was just young at the time to know who that was.
So,
growing up, I didn't know who he was now. So we got to do commentary that night on the show that they did in the mall. And the match that ironically we got to call was Crazy Ivan's match. So, I kind of said to him, I'm like, I'm just going to let this, I commentated here and there, but, I was like, when it came to Ivan, I kind of did the, that's Crazy Ivan. I'm like, hey, didn't you wrestle with him for a long time? I said, I'll let you talk about him. And I called I called the spots here and there, but I just kind of let him. I'm like, that's your guy. You know him well enough. You talk about him, talk him up, do what you have to do to make these people love him at the end of the day.
You know Crazy Ivan, just like I do. This motherfucker comes out here.
I actually have the picture.
Yes. He comes out here like, yo, I'm the man. Like
I will say, his gimmick is absolutely fantastic. I mean, from top to bottom, he is he keeps that kayfabe from the time he hits that curtain until the time he walks back through.
100%.
You know, and to see that that's still a thing, you know, I mean, obviously it's always going to be a thing, but to see that there are still guys that carry that from start to finish, at least until they walk back in the curtain. And then when you go back out, you know, whether it's gimmicks or it's pictures or it's anything, you still have that gimmick, whether you're in street clothes or not. That's still kind of, you keep that from start to finish.
You're still who you are to the people who see you.
Correct.
So Derrick, I got another question for you.
Please.
So I've asked Big Dog and I asked Joey the same question. That very first time that you come through the curtain,
Well,
can you put it in words?
no.
And you know, it's funny.
It's obviously a rush, right?
It's
obviously
your mind just goes blank because you're playing a persona. So if you're standing in Gorilla and you're waiting and your music hits and you become the person who you have been working your ass off in the professional wrestling business to be. And when the crowd, listen, if they boo you, you're doing your job. If they cheer you, you're doing your job. If you come out and no one does anything, you better change your shit up because you're not doing something right.
You know, absolutely. And to attest to what you're saying,
here's the thing, Derrick. So you and I, we've been through this business for 30 years.
Yep.
Okay, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
My son, right here. This is the new Untouchables.
The legacy.
You know, and I said to him, I said, listen, whether how long this lasts or not, I knew his partner very well, Dino.
Yep.
I've known his son. I called his son. I said, listen, Justin, I'm asking you out of respect. I said, we want to use that same name. I said, I'm calling you, you know, to get your blessing. I said, I'm never going to fill your father's shoes. I said, and I don't plan to by any means. I said, because again, you know, that tag team has had 3 incarnations. It's been the original, which was him and Dino as the Untouchables. Then it was him and Dino's son, the product Justin, for the second incarnation, and now it's me.
That's
you know, and
cool,
I don't plan to, you know, fill that void. And I said, I'm never going to fill your father's footsteps. I said, and I also have too much respect for your father to, you know, try to be that guy. I said, am I going to absolutely take it and run with it and give it my, you know, 110%?
And set that bitch on fire? Yes.
If you don't, you're doing something wrong. Yep. You know, and you can, you know, and like we said before about the coming through the curtain, you know, I was at Barn Smoker in PA last year. And the guy that's a good friend of ours is also very good friends with Gene Snitsky.
I love Gene.
I
love Gene.
So Gene came, you know, we were getting ready to leave, and he goes, well, Gene's coming. I said, all right, well, if Gene's coming, you know, I'll stay and hang out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was my first time meeting him, but, you know, I didn't, oh, man, we sat there, we had a regular conversation, you know, and we talked about, because I said, I've gotten this question a lot, the same question we were just talking about, of when you walk through that curtain. He goes, you can't explain it to somebody who's not.
Can't put it in work.
You know, he said, you could be running on ass low level fumes, empty, your body could be hurt.
But guess what? The minute that music hits and you hit that aisle,
yes, 100%, and that's it. Just
all gone.
It probably doesn't come anywhere close in the sense of wrestling, because obviously I've never wrestled. I've never aspired to be a wrestler. I've told these guys I've always wanted to be a manager. That was always my dream, to be a wrestling manager. But on the sense of coming out of the curtain, the closest I've ever come was my high school team played the state championship at Cooperstown at Doubleday Field. I'm a huge baseball fan. To me, that's a cathedral. That was amazing.
That's your cathedral.
That's your,
that
yes.
was my,
100%.
That's right.
100%.
Coming down that tiny little gravel tunnel out into Doubleday Field was an experience that I can't really put into words. It really was like church at a whole different level coming out.
No, and I can attest to that, even having played football for so many years, you know, and that walk from, if you're playing at home at the high school, right, we have no tunnel going out. that walk from the time you walk out of those gym doors, out of the locker room, and you walk to that field is the same way to me as getting to that curtain, hearing my music hit, and walking through.
And walk that aisle, baby.
That's exactly, how I took it because, and like you said, if they're booing you, you're doing your job. If they're cheering, you're doing your job.
Yep.
We debuted in that company. I don't know if you happen to watch the video because there was no.
I did. I saw it.
Okay, so the entrance wasn't there. Our music hit. We've never worked for this company. We've never shown face in this company. We've never done a run-in. We were new guys. That music hit, and within seconds, they booed us.
You're doing your job.
And I grabbed him, and you know this as well as I do. When that music hits, you want to walk right through.
Yep.
I grabbed him like by the bottom of his shirt, and I just went, "Yo!" I said, "Just listen." I said, "Take 5 seconds and listen."
Give it a second.
And he listened.
Listen.
He like,
go.
He did this, and he went, "Oh shit!" I was like,
"Yep."
Oh yeah.
Now I've seen video of that match. This man is a big man. I'm going to do a real quick story. So the first time I met these guys, again, was on Instagram. Never met them in person. Finally went down. They invited me to their home. I went down and met them. He's sitting down when I get there. Boss comes up.
You know how it works with tall guys in the business, Derrick.
There's a formal introduce or whatever. I come over and I go to shake his hand. He stands up and I'm like, oh, shit.
That's like the David and Goliath stare down to the ring like,
yep.
Oh my
Tell
God.
you that story because now I'm watching the video of his match. I hear about his match, how he takes his opponent and launches him over the top rope. What he didn't tell me was he didn't just launch him. He put him on the fucking space shuttle, and I'm sure his head bounced off the ceiling.
Now
That
you
was
know.
the launch. I was like, oh my God, the kid's gonna die.
Now you know, Derrick, and you can say this as well as I do. And I've said this to these guys, and he knows obviously because he's the one that taught me everything I know. And I've had people watch that match back and go, dude, you really do command that ring like you've been there for, 20 years. I'm like, but that's the way I was brought up. I said,
that's right.
I got in that ring. I said, and I'm not going to lie, I felt at home. I said, I got right in between those ropes when it was my time to tag in. And I said, I felt like that's where I belonged. That was my home.
And you knew you were there.
I knew it was like, and I don't know if it's just me, but, when you're standing on the outside waiting for that tag, whether it's your first match or a company you're just coming into, that nerve is there. That nerve is like this, so I got that tag and it was like, I got in that ring and I just looked. I looked for a second. I said, okay, it's showtime.
Time to go to work.
And I said to somebody, I said, that's literally what it is. I said, they go, yeah, but how does it feel? I said, you walk into that building before the show. I said, you punch the clock. I said, you do your match. I said, and you punch out. I said, that's it.
Yep.
I said, it's just like a regular job. I said, except I get paid to beat people up.
Right.
And, yeah, I said, I get paid to beat people up for fun. And we all have a great time afterwards.
So
and that kid, and how when you're in the back and you're talking stuff over, hey, listen, I'm gonna do this to you. This guy's gonna do this to you, and he's gonna do this. So the original plan, and I've said this numerous times over Instagram lives to many different people. If I didn't tell you what I'm gonna tell you, you'd think that was regular spot. That kid was supposed to go up for a power bomb. After he power bombed him, that kid was supposed to go up for a power bomb. If you watch, when I lifted him straight up, and then he tried to get fancy and go over me.
Oh.
So, and it just a natural reaction. I catch him in the razor's edge.
Oh.
Except I looked at him, and I was like, bro, tuck your chin. You're going for a ride. I said, I got to give them something high impact.
So,
And I felt bad because I thought, honestly, and I'm not going to lie, I've said this to people, I wasn't sure if he was hurt or not. I said, but thankfully he knew to take that bump very high. I said, because if he didn't know anything and he was green like I was and didn't know what he was doing, you know, he was just new, he wouldn't have known how to take that.
Right.
Thankfully, that kid, you know, I did walk over to him because I backed in the corner with him, and I'm like, holy shit, I think I just killed this kid. Because you see that your first instinct is, oh shit, I broke his neck.
So
Yep.
Derek,
His neck is broken. I
Tell
walk
us-
over to him.
tell us about your first match with
Yeah.
Tony Rumble.
We'll go
us
to that.
Tell us about how you yourself got into the wrestling world and then moved over to cigars.
So working for Tony, which was awesome, learning the basic, not even the basics, learning everything about the ring, learning to be the ring general, and learning this and teaching that. Listening to the guys who have been there, you know, listen to people like Jason Rumble, listen to people like Slick Wagner Brown,
WB.
Louis Ortiz. You know, you listen to the guys who are right there, and you listen to the thing. And of course, I was really 100% lucky that the day that I was going to do my first match, Taz and Tommy Dreamer happened to be there.
The human suplex machine.
But he wasn't Taz. He was the Tasmaniac.
Right.
Facts.
So listening to them and listening to them talk, and then, of course, getting to know them and listening to them, what they do and how they do their thing. So I was a mess, because this is my first, okay, we're going to go out there in front of people. And it was nerve-wracking, but
it's scary. And
nerve-wracking. But the minute I hit that aisle, and they didn't know who I was, but of course in the Indies they either cheer or boo the shit out of people. Well,
Right.
I got cheered, which I was like, okay, whatever. And I happened to be playing the heel at the time.
Well, in case you couldn't guess, my first match was also playing a heel, just because I had a mouthpiece to walk out before me.
Hello.
And
Hello.
playing the heel, I was supposed to be the heel, and then they clap you like you're a babyface. Then the babyface comes out. Now you got to be an asshole. So now you poke fun and you use thumbs and you do shit and you do that. I remember going out back after my first match, and they were like, okay, well, do this instead of this. Do this instead of this. Do that instead of that. Do this instead of that.
Yes.
And listening every time. So getting to, excuse the terminology, ring rust, because I didn't have any rust. I just didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Right.
But learning and taking bumps, and it was great because Taz and Dreamer talked to me very well. So that's when they were like, hey, listen, you know, we do our thing over here in Pennsylvania. If you want to stop by, love to.
Absolutely.
So I drive to Pennsylvania, to the ECW arena, not the 2300, whatever the fuck it is.
It's always going to be ECW arena on the corner of Swanson and Rick. I mean, that's it.
1997 to 2001, I worked for that company. They introduced me to Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman took a liking to me, introduced me to Balls Mahoney and Chris Candido, who happened to be collegiate wrestlers.
Oh, Candido, he's another one gone too soon.
And I remember that I was in Jersey, and Candido and Paul and John, Balls, lived in Jersey, and I remember taking bumps in Candido's backyard in this. Oh my God, this ring was like.
Candido, but again,
hang on, I gotta adjust my neck. Hang on,
you gotta crack that neck, D. You
Oh.
gotta crack that neck, right?
Because Candido's ring was just like taking bumps on concrete.
Oh, I did that.
And
that
taking
hurt.
anything from Balls, and he was an unbelievable worker. And I remember my first time I did a dark match at the ECW arena, and I went up against Chris Shetty.
Oh, he's another talent that is just
Trained by Taz, trained in the dojo.
He's making his in-ring return for Creative Pro in Long Island.
Wow. Oh, he's been out a long time.
10 years. He's like Brian Myers is a big ECW guy, and he's friends with a lot of those guys.
Yep.
I think that's just cool that he's coming back to do a fight. Now the question is, does he stay or does he do this one last match and ride off.
I mean, you have a lot of guys, like for instance, Brian Blue Meanie. I love Brian. I love Blue,
Sweetheart.
and he doesn't want to bump anymore.
I don't blame him.
No, I don't either. Because
You can talk.
brother, I still have. It's gonna make you laugh. He's about to retire, by the way. I'm gonna be 50 in 2 weeks. I still have the same doctor that I had when I was wrestling in the 90s.
That's cool.
And he told me straight out because I was out. I was out a lot in ECW because they kick the shit out of you in ECW.
They do. But
You know,
that's how they know if you can deal with them or not. That's how they know if you can do it.
So do you guys remember Big Sal?
Oh, Big Sally.
Yes.
Graziano.
Sally's
So-
man.
So Sal, we went to the arena one afternoon, and Spike and I were in the ring. We were screwing around with 911. We were because Spike was 135 pounds. Don't let anyone freaking fool you. Spike was a little shit,
Oh, Spike was small, and 911 was fucking awesome.
and he was a monster. So we were fucking around 911,
No,
and
Bam threw
so-
him around the arena.
so Balls gets in the ring, and we're doing the thing. So Sal gets in. So that night at the arena, they were gonna do this gimmick where the little guys were gonna come in and kick the shit out of the big guys. Spike and I hit the ring, and that afternoon we were doing Spike's acid drop to the big guys. So Sal gets in the ring, and when I tell you he put the boots to me. Oh, like I said, every time I think about ECW, I was there for 5 years. I have
I will
to
tell
crack
you.
my neck.
I'll kick it over to you, OG, and then I'll tie up with him. So
Derek, I got one question. I want you to think about this. We're gonna take one last final break. But I want you to think about this question before you go to break when you come back. You mentioned Paul Heyman, my all-time favorite.
evil fucking genius.
He is.
Yep.
Yes. I mean, he's beyond genius. I can't even put it in words. But anyway,
100%.
before we go to break, I want you to think about this question. What is the one piece of advice that Paul Heyman gave you that sticks with you to this day and is instrumental in your career, throughout your career? So one piece of advice that Paul Heyman gave you. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back, and I can't wait to hear your answer.
That's the show for today, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with an all-new show. And remember, you can listen to us again and again. The podcast of this radio show is available right after we go off the air tonight, anywhere that you can get your podcast episodes. And thanks for joining us today. I'd like to take a moment to talk about something close to my heart. Military Broadcast Radio is doing incredible work to support our veterans and bring their voices to the world. They rely on your generous donations and your dedicated volunteer hours to make it happen. I encourage you to consider supporting NBR in any way, form that you can. Use this QR code that's attached to the picture, or you can go to our website at mbradio.us. That's Mike Bravo Radio.us to learn more about how you can donate or volunteer even just an hour a week from your home. Help make a difference in the lives of our veterans.
All right, and we're back.
We are back.
We are
All right.
back.
So Paul Heyman, piece of advice that he gave you that just stuck with you and was instrumental.
So after my first match with Spike and all them, I remember going out back, and I was just destroyed because Sal and 911 beat the shit out of us. And I'm thinking to myself, because I had 2 cracked ribs.
Oh,
Yeah, those don't heal very easy.
No, and never mind breathing or laughing or even taking a drink, anything. So I remember I was over in the corner and I was just like trying to take deep breaths because I couldn't breathe through the pain. And Paul comes up to me and he put his hand on my shoulder, and I put my head up and he looked at me and he goes, "You have a good time?" I said, "I had a great time." He goes, "Do you enjoy this?" I go, "Very much so." He goes, "The pain will go away, but the feeling will last forever."
Yes.
awesome.
So now, before, what I was gonna say was, back to the you knowing him for as long as you've known him. I'm sure you've locked up with him.
Yep.
Countless times.
Yep.
So I was in the ring this night. I was on the apron waiting for my tag, and I happened to see that look, and told everybody, I said, that was a look I haven't seen, I can tell you, since before he retired.
Listen.
And there's a picture. I don't know if I have it. There's a picture, and if not, I'll send it to you. But you can see there's one of him on the inside of the ring, and he's wrestling. And you can see me sitting on the outside right before I'm ready to tag in, and I'm just watching. And I'm sitting there like a kid.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it hit me. It was like, oh, shit. My turn.
My turn.
Yeah, it was one of those like,
My turn.
my turn.
My turn.
I'm next. Me
go.
next.
My turn.
And I also, I had
what,
showed
Derrick?
this picture to somebody,
It's
and everybody said
So-
that I had
so-
looked just like him in that ring. They were like, holy crap. They said, you know what? If you don't have that same, 1,000-eye death stare that he has when staring across the ring from somebody, they're like, you can't teach that to anybody. You can't teach that natural.
No, you can't. Can't.
Stone-faced heel. And you can't teach that. They're like, and you just have it. And I'm like, and I've said I've learned that from being around so long, from being around the business, just from being around the guys that I was around. Coming up, and I say coming up because I was a kid coming up around them. I grew up in that same way as you were wrestling, in that kayfabe era of like, you don't break character till you walk back through that curtain.
So
And the kid came out across from me, and the inner child in me was about 5 because he came out with a can of whipped cream. Walked over to me and goes, I'm going to cream pie you in the mouth. And I was like, fuck. And the inner child in you just,
Yep.
I went back to the curtain and I was like, shit. And Magic goes, what happened? I'm like, I laughed at the guy. He goes, that's what this is about. He goes, that's what this company's for. The company was called Funhouse. He goes, that's what this company is. It's about having fun. I said, yeah, but he goes, okay, you cracked a smile. He goes, so what? He goes, you came out, you sent the kids home happy. The fans were excited. He goes, and if I run again, I'm bringing you back. Which he wound up, getting rid of it and giving it to another company because he didn't want to run the whole promotion by himself anymore. And I don't blame him.
Derrick, the thing is this, kayfabe, we all know kayfabe.
Kayfabe.
The thing is this, kayfabe, like I'm coming out, I'm the asshole, whatever you want to call me. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, kayfabe, a lot of these young boys don't understand that.
Right. A lot of new guys don't have kayfabe.
A lot, and I can say to that, a lot of guys, they're taught how to keep kayfabe. They are.
Yep.
And I'm not going to sit here and say they're not, because I know some of the schools I know some of the guys that train some of these people, and they know how to keep kayfabe. But it's a different time. The times have changed where
They have.
Guys go on social media, and I'm one of them. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, after the show with that kid, when he posted up the pictures of his belts, I sent him a message, and I said, yo, I can't wait to do this again. I said, I can't wait to do this tango again. I said, because, man, oh, man, was it fun. I said, and if I hurt you, and, first thing I did, I said, if I hurt you, I apologize. I said, and if not, then we're just going to do it again next time. He goes, I can't wait. And listen, I'm looking forward to eventually crossing paths with that kid again.
Of course.
Because he knows what he's doing. He's he really is behind, and and you could say this just as much as I can. A lot of these guys, they're sweethearts behind the scenes. Like when I met Gene that day, it was my first time meeting him. It was like I've known him for 20 years.
Yep.
And I had sunburn, and what does he do when he walks by me?
Smack.
He goes, all right, kid, I'll see you later.
Smack.
Slaps him.
And his wife was there, and she was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "No, I fully expected it, 100%.
Yep.
Knew it was coming." I said, "I was just hoping he was going to catch me when I was a little more ready for it."
So
I said, but at the same time, you know what? It was cool to hang out with him. It was cool to finally meet him, and you know that same feeling we talked about of walking through that curtain. You know, I said to him, I said, "You get this question probably just as much as I do," and he goes, "Yup." And he said, "You can't," and it's not a knock on anybody not in the business.
You can't put it in words.
Can't put it in words. You can't explain what walking through that curtain feels like for the first time. You know, and I will say that we are going to North Carolina. We are booked on a show in North Carolina. The Untouchables will be coming to New Bern in May. And we may or may not have a guy coming with us. This guy right here with Santa's nuts on his head. And the advice I gave him is, and you'll appreciate this, you know, he goes, because we had the promoter on last week, and he said, you know, I mean, we could probably make that happen. I looked at him and I said, "This is your one shot, kid. Don't fuck it up."
Yep.
Am I wrong, D?
Yep.
Is that
100%?
That's the famous words of every promoter before you walk through that curtain. You have
Better believe it.
Shot.
Yo, D.
Don't fuck this up.
Tell
simple.
my man right here, the OG cigar tender, what you need to do when you come to that.
Well,
curtain.
as a ring announcer, you're the one. As an announcer, you're the one keeping the crowd engaged. So
as Gorilla,
you got to keep them engaged.
He's coming to the ring announcer. My man Gorilla right here. He's gonna come through.
No, I'm the Gorilla. That's Santa's nutsack.
That can't be my name. I mean, that would the OG nutsack. Is that what
There's always one thing you want to remember, whether it's a show in front of, and I've done it all. It's show in front of 15 people or 5,000 people. That's one thing you want to do forever and ever. Is what you want to do is keep your stride. Keep with what you're doing. Stick to the gimmick. Stay with the gimmick and ride it until that bitch falls.
Okay.
So ride it till the fucking wheels fall off, and you got to fix it and reinvent it, and then you come right back out with it.
You do it again. Amen.
Derrick, we appreciate you coming on our podcast.
This isn't the first part. We're going to cut this off here for the day, ladies and gentlemen, and then next week you'll be seeing part 2 of this interview. Where yes, we're going to finish up the wrestling conversation. We're going to get into cigars, we promise. You know, as OG said before, when you get guys like us on here, you know that, and guys like me, even though I'm new, I grew up around it. I'm still that kid at heart. I like hearing the stories, and I mean, you know, just being able to sit here and you know talk to you and kind of you know tell everybody what you've done, where you've been, and you know life lessons for the boys like. That's stuff that people love to hear.
Amen.
So we're going to end this here this week, folks. Tune in next week for the New Year's celebration of Turnbuckles and Stogies.
With my man.
With part 2 of the interview
Derrick Dukes.
with D3, Derrick Dukes. It's going to be good. We're just getting started, ladies and gentlemen. Uh-oh. All right, we're going to have to talk about that on the next episode.
Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody, and we will see you next week. OG out.